The sun was dying in the west, spilling its blood across the horizon when he first saw her. The smoke of battle still hung thick in the air, carrying the scent of iron, ash, and loss. His men dragged her forward, wrists bound, her dress torn and smeared with dirt. Yet even covered in dust and defeat, she stood like someone carved from fire. Her eyes, unbroken and unafraid, met his. The eyes of the man everyone called the unyielding. He had ended countless lives, shattered many wills, but something in her silence unsettled him. He asked her name. She didn't answer. He demanded she kneel. She stayed standing. His men laughed, waiting for the storm, knowing the fate of those who defied him. But instead of rage, he felt something strange, something he didn't recognize. Curiosity. Her gaze wasn't one of hatred or fear. It was a quiet challenge, one that made him feel small in a way no weapon ever had. That night, the campfire crackled, and the wind carried whispers of the dead. He sat alone, sharpening his blade, but his mind replayed her face. Every time her eyes flashed in his thoughts, something in his chest twisted painfully. He told himself it was pride, insult, maybe, that she dared to look at him like that. Yet when he walked past her, tied to a post beneath the stars, she didn't flinch. Her breath was steady, her posture calm. It infuriated him. He leaned close, voice low and sharp. "You'll beg before the moon turns full," he said, almost as a promise. She met his stare and whispered, "You can't break what was never yours to hold." Her words struck like arrows, quiet but piercing. For the first time, he didn't know what to say. He turned away, jaw tight, telling himself she was just another captive, another lesson in fear. But as the night deepened, her voice kept echoing inside him. The more he tried to harden himself, the more his resolve began to crumble. He'd spent years conquering enemies, building a wall around his soul so high that nothing human could reach him. Yet somehow this woman, this enemy, had found a crack. As the fire died to embers, he looked toward where she sat in silence, the moonlight soft against her face. Something inside him shifted. Small, dangerous, irreversible. He didn't understand it yet, but destiny had already begun to move its pieces. The warrior who vowed to break her didn't know that it was his own heart she would shatter first. "Nunca pensé que llegaría a respetarte tanto", dijo él, su voz apenas un susurro entre el viento y los árboles. Ella lo miró, sorprendida. No esperaba palabras así. En su mente, la promesa de romperla seguía presente, pero ahora comprendía que romperla no significaba destruirla, sino transformarla, llevarla al límite de su fuerza y enseñarle quién era realmente. Esa revelación cambió todo lo que sentía por él. Con cada nuevo desafío, también crecía una atracción silenciosa y compleja. No era algo simple ni inmediato, era un reconocimiento profundo del carácter, de la resiliencia, de la esencia del otro. Ella, que al principio había sentido solo miedo, ahora empezaba a sentir curiosidad, una mezcla de respeto y algo que no se atrevía a nombrar. Él a su vez estaba aprendiendo que la verdadera fuerza no residía solo en su habilidad como guerrero, sino en la capacidad de guiar, de enseñar, de comprender a alguien que no podía ser roto de manera convencional. La pradera, que antes parecía un lugar de confinamiento y amenaza, se transformó en un escenario de descubrimiento y conexión. Cada amanecer traía no solo pruebas físicas, sino también oportunidades de introspección y aprendizaje mutuo. Ella comenzó a entender la importancia de la paciencia, la observación y la estrategia, y él empezó a valorar la vulnerabilidad como una forma de fuerza. la resistencia como una forma de enseñanza y la confianza como un puente invisible entre dos almas que, por circunstancias extremas, habían aprendido a depender una de la otra. Una noche, bajo un cielo lleno de estrellas titilantes, se sentaron junto al fuego, y por primera vez la conversación fluyó sin desafíos ni órdenes. Hablaron de sus vidas antes del encuentro, de sus miedos, de sus sueños, y descubrieron que a pesar de las diferencias, compartían algo esencial, un anhelo de libertad y un deseo de comprender el mundo más allá de lo que podían ver. Esa noche, el silencio no era opresivo ni aterrador, era un espacio de respeto y comprensión, donde ambos reconocieron que la promesa de romperla había evolucionado en algo inesperado y profundo. Un vínculo basado en la fuerza mutua y la transformación compartida. Days bled into weeks, and the rhythm of captivity became something different, something he couldn't name. She no longer looked like a prisoner. She moved through the camp like a quiet storm. When the firewood ran low, she gathered it herself. When one of the wounded warriors fell sick, she tended to him with water and herbs, humming songs from a world he didn't understand. Her hands, though bound by rope, still managed to heal. Her spirit, though chained, refused to bow. He watched her from afar, pretending indifference, but his eyes followed her every step. The other men called her cursed, said she carried witchcraft in her gaze. He almost wished that were true, because then he could blame magic for the way his chest tightened when she smiled, for the way the world seemed to soften around her presence. She had no weapon, yet somehow she disarmed everyone who dared to come close. One evening, one of his men mocked her. He grabbed her arm, sneering about her tribe, about her weakness. Before the warrior could speak, she turned and faced the man with a calm so sharp, it silenced everyone. "You can chain my body," she said, her voice steady as the wind, "but not my soul." The camp fell quiet. Even the fire seemed to still. The man stepped back, uneasy, as if her words carried the weight of thunder. The warrior's jaw clenched, but not in anger, in shame. Something about that moment lodged deep inside him. He remembered every time he'd been told that mercy was weakness, that compassion would destroy him. Yet here stood a woman who embodied both mercy and strength, and it made her unstoppable. That night, as the moon climbed high, he couldn't sleep. Her words echoed in his skull, relentless as the drumbeat of war. He lay there staring at the sky, wondering when his soul had turned to stone, and why, for the first time in years, he wanted to feel something again. He had been raised to conquer, to crush, to rule through fear. But she ruled through grace. She had lost everything, and yet she carried herself as though she owned the earth beneath her feet. When he saw her the next morning, weak from exhaustion, she still tried to rise before the others, still tried to help prepare the fire. Her hands trembled, her lips pale, but she didn't stop. Something inside him broke without warning. He stepped forward, catching her arm before she fell. Her eyes widened, not in fear, but surprise. "Rest," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. It was the first gentle word he'd spoken in years. For a moment, time stilled between them. The men around them watched in silence, confused by the sight of their leader helping the very woman he once swore to destroy. That night, as the campfire burned low, he sat alone again. But this time, he didn't reach for his blade. He thought of her words, her strength, her defiance. He realized that the chains he'd put on her meant nothing. The real captive was him, trapped by a heart he no longer recognized. He closed his eyes, and in the darkness behind them, she appeared again, not as a prisoner, but as a light he could no longer ignore. The air between them had changed. What once felt like a battlefield now carried a fragile silence, heavy with something neither of them could name. He kept his distance, pretending that nothing had shifted, but his every action betrayed him. He brought her water before anyone else. He assigned her lighter tasks. He ordered his men to treat her with respect, not out of mercy, but out of a restless need to protect what he had once vowed to destroy. She noticed the change, though she said nothing. When she looked at him now, her gaze carried a strange softness, as if she could see through the armor he'd spent his life forging. Sometimes, when their eyes met, the world around them seemed to fade. The noise, the orders, the weight of war. There was only the quiet pull between two people who should have hated each other, but somehow didn't anymore. The tension grew heavier when the council met. The elders of his tribe had seen enough. They whispered that he had grown weak, that his compassion for the captive was a sign of betrayal. When the council's leader spoke, the verdict fell like a death sentence. At dawn, she will be executed. The spirit of war demands balance. He said nothing, not a word, not a protest. The campfire burned low as the others left one by one, satisfied that their decision would erase what they saw as his mistake. He sat there long after they were gone, hands clenched, heart roaring with conflict. He told himself this was justice, that it was the way of his people. But every time he imagined her being dragged away, a sharp pain cut through him, one he couldn't ignore. When darkness settled completely, he walked to the small shelter where she was held. The guards stepped aside without question, his authority unquestionable, even in silence. She was sitting near the fire, her hands bound, her eyes fixed on the sky through the narrow cracks above. When she turned toward him, there was no fear, only peace. "They've decided," he said quietly, "at dawn." "I know," she interrupted, her voice soft but steady. "You're not afraid?" She shook her head. "Death doesn't frighten me. Losing myself would." He stared at her, words caught in his throat. She didn't plead, didn't ask for mercy. She looked at him like someone who had already made peace with fate. That calmness broke something deep inside him. She leaned forward slightly, her voice barely more than a whisper. "Even if I die, you'll carry my fire. You can't destroy what already burns within you." For a moment, he forgot who he was. He forgot the tribe, the blood, the vows. He saw only her, a soul unbroken, untouched by hate. He wanted to speak, to tell her that something inside him had shifted beyond repair, but the words never came. Instead, he turned and walked away, each step heavier than the last. That night, sleep eluded him. He sat by the dying fire, torn between two paths that could not coexist. The warrior inside him screamed for duty, but the man inside him, the part that had been buried beneath years of blood and steel, begged for her life. When the first light began to paint the horizon, he rose, gripping his blade. He knew what had to be done. For the first time in his life, he would defy everything he had ever believed in. The dawn that promised her death would instead become the moment his destiny changed forever. The night was alive with fire. The sky burned red as the warrior moved through the camp like a shadow, silent and determined. Every step he took was a war within himself, between loyalty and love, between the man he had been and the man he could no longer deny becoming. His decision had already been made. He would not let her die. He reached her shelter before dawn. The guards stood watch, their faces lit by the flickering flames. He gave no warning, no explanation, only steel. In one swift motion, his blade flashed, and the guards fell without a sound. When he stepped inside, she was waiting, as if she had known he would come. Her eyes met his, calm and unreadable. "You shouldn't be here," she whispered. "I'm already too far gone not to be," he replied. He cut her ropes and pulled her to her feet. Her wrists were bruised, her body weak, but her spirit was fierce as ever. Outside, the camp began to stir. The drums of dawn were sounding, a signal for her execution. But before the first beat could echo through the valley, they were gone, vanishing into the mist that clung to the edge of the forest. The run was brutal. Every sound felt like a threat, every heartbeat a warning. Branches tore at their skin, the cold bit into their lungs, yet neither stopped. Behind them, the shouts of pursuit rose, furious and relentless. His own tribe, his brothers, his blood, were hunting him now. They crossed a stream, its waters freezing and fast. She stumbled, her legs trembling, and he caught her before she fell. Their eyes met, close, breathless, wild with fear, and something deeper. For a moment, the world shrank to the space between them. He wanted to speak, to explain what he didn't fully understand himself, but words failed him. Instead, he pressed her hand against his chest and said, "Don't thank me. I didn't save you. You saved me." Her eyes softened, and for the first time, she looked at him not as an enemy, but as a man. The forest grew quiet, the wind slowing, as if the earth itself paused to listen. But peace was fleeting. The sound of war drums reached them again, distant but closing in. The tribe was not far behind. They found shelter beneath an old oak, its roots twisted and ancient. He tore a strip from his tunic to bind the cut on her arm. She winced, but didn't pull away. He noticed how her hand trembled slightly, how her breath came uneven, and realized she was not invincible after all. She was human, fragile, and still she had faced everything with unshakable strength. "Why are you doing this?" she asked quietly. "Because I can't let them kill what's left of me," he said. They sat in silence after that, the crackle of distant fire fading into the night. He watched her as she drifted into uneasy sleep, the moonlight tracing the curve of her face. He wanted to believe that they could escape, that somewhere beyond the horizon there was a life waiting for them. But deep down, he knew the truth. The tribe would not stop. Blood would demand blood. When the first light of morning crept through the trees, he rose, sword in hand, ready for whatever was coming. She stirred, eyes meeting his, and for the briefest moment, they smiled. A small, fragile rebellion against a world built on hate. Then came the sound he dreaded most, the thunder of hooves, the cry of warriors closing in. The hunt had found them. He stepped forward, placing himself between her and the oncoming storm, his blade glinting in the light of dawn. He had promised once to break her. But now he would break the world itself before he let it touch her again. The forest was trembling with the sound of pursuit, hooves pounding, war cries echoing through the mist. He could see their shadows through the trees, the flicker of torches burning brighter with each passing heartbeat. He gripped his sword tighter, every muscle ready, every thought anchored to one truth. He would die before letting them take her again, her breathing uneven, but her eyes calm, steady. She knew what was coming. Her hand brushed against his arm, a silent promise of courage. "You don't have to do this," she whispered. But he didn't turn. His voice was low, heavy with conviction. "I do, because everything I was before you was already dead." The first of his warriors broke through the tree line, shouting his name, not in respect this time, but in rage. The tribe's chief stepped forward, his face carved with betrayal and fury. "You bring shame to your people," he spat. "You defend the blood of your enemies." He raised his blade, the fire in his chest burning brighter than the torches around them. "She was never my enemy," he said, his voice carrying through the clearing. "The real enemy is the hate that blinds us." The chief ordered the attack. Steel met steel, and chaos erupted. The clash of swords filled the air, sparks flying as the warrior fought with a fury none had ever seen in him. Every strike was a heartbeat, every movement a confession of love he couldn't voice. He fought not to win, but to protect, to shield her from a fate that had already taken too much. She picked up a fallen spear, standing beside him. He wanted to tell her to run, but she wouldn't leave. Together they fought, two souls against an army, moving as if guided by something greater than survival, destiny itself. The earth shook beneath their feet, and for a moment, it felt like even the gods were watching. Then, silence. The circle of warriors closed around them, their numbers too many. Blood stained the ground, his breath heavy, his strength fading. The chief approached, sword raised. "You've chosen your death," he said. The warrior dropped his blade. "If she dies, I die too," he declared, stepping in front of her, his voice breaking with truth. "But if you let her live, maybe the curse ends here. Maybe this world still has room for peace." Something shifted in the air, a tremor in the hearts of those watching. The chief hesitated. The woman, covered in dust and tears, stepped forward and laid her hand on the warrior's chest. "You can kill us," she said softly, "but you can't kill what's already changed." The forest seemed to hold its breath. The chief lowered his weapon, and one by one, the others followed. The war ended, not with victory, but with surrender, to something far stronger than hatred. Years passed. The story of that night became legend. The warrior who defied his tribe, and the woman who taught him the power of mercy. Together they rebuilt what had been destroyed, uniting two worlds that once sought only to destroy each other. He never forgot the night he found her, the fire in her eyes, the silence that defied him, the vow he made to break her spirit. In the end, it wasn't her who shattered, it was him. The walls he built from pain and pride fell the moment he realized that love was not a weakness. It was the greatest strength a warrior could ever hold.